Namaste, hi, hello. Welcome to today's session. Today, let's discuss about the topic from the chapter Pastoralist in the Modern World. Today's topic is Not All Were Equally Affected. From this topic, let's begin to discuss about different concepts from the chapter. Not all were equally affected. So, this is the topic which mainly explains us the different pastoral community lived in Africa. Among all those, only few pastoral communities got affected, and others they were living as earlier. So let's understand about the topic. In Maasai land, as elsewhere in Africa, not all pastoralists were equally affected by the changes brought by colonial period or colonialization. In pre-colonial times, means before the colonial times, the Maasai society was divided into two categories. Maasai society was mainly categorized into two communities or two categories, mainly elder and warriors. Elders and warriors. So, if the question is asked, name the two categories of Maasai community. So, your answer should be the two communities or two categories of Maasai community were elders and warriors. Now, let's discuss. The elders formed the ruling group and met in periodic councils to decide on the affairs of the community and settle disputes. So, elders are the group of people forming in Maasai community or Maasai society. These are mainly formed periodic councils, or they are mainly the members of different councils. These councils used to decide about the affairs as well as to solve the disputes raised among the Maasai community. Whereas the warriors consisted young people, mainly these people holds responsibility for the protection of the tribe. They defended the community and organized cattle rights. Riding was an important in a society where cattle was wealth. It is through rights that the power of different pastoral group was asserted. Riding, cattle riding. So cattle riding it was very important for these pastoralists because riding itself was mainly uh, a deciding factor for describing about the wealth of the community. So through the rights itself, they asserted power on different pastoral communities. Young men came to be recognized as members of the warrior class when they provide their meanliness by riding the cattle of other pastoral groups and participating in wars. They, however, were subject to the authority of the elders. So, young men, it's their primary function to participate or to recognize themselves as member of warrior group and also to participate in rights and even wars. And whatever the affairs they do, whatever the work done by them, it is mainly subjected to the elders. To administer the affairs of Masai, the British introduced series of measures that had important implication. So to hold uh, control on the administration of Masai community, so the British went with imposing variety of measures, variety of implications on Masai community. They appointed chiefs of different subgroups of Masai who were made responsible for the affairs of the trade. First one. Then the British imposed various restrictions on riding and warfare. Consequently, the traditional authority of both elders and warriors was adversely affected. Third one, the chiefs appointed by the colonial government often accumulated wealth over time. They had a regular income with which they could buy animals, goods, and land. They lent money to poor neighbors who needed cash to pay taxes. Many of them began living in towns and became involved in trade. Next one, their wives and children stayed back in the villages to look after the animals. These chiefs managed to survive the devastation of wars and drought. They had both pastoral and non pastoral income and could buy animals when their stock was depleted. But the life history of the poor pastoralist who depended only on their livestock was different. More often, they did not have the resources to tide over bad times. In times of war and famine, they lost nearly everything. They had to go looking for work in the towns. Some looked out a living as a charcoal burners, others did odd jobs. The lucky could get more regular work in road and building construction. The social change in Maasai society occurred at two levels. First one, the traditional difference based on age between the elders and warriors was disturbed through though it did not break down entirely. Second, new d- distinction between the wealthy and poor pastoralists developed. Conclusion. So, we see that pastoral communities in different parts of the world are mainly affected in a variety of different ways by changes in modern world or changes brought in colonial period. New laws and new borders or boundaries affect the patterns of their movement with increasing restrictions on their mobility. Pastoralists find it difficult to move in search of pastures. As pasture land disappear, grazing became a problem, while pasture that remain deteriorate through continuous overgrazing. Times of drought became times of crisis when cattle die in large number. They change the path of their annual movement, reduce their number of cattle, press for rights to enter new areas, exert political pressure on the government for relief, subsidy and other forms of support, and demand a right in the management of forest and water resource. Environmentalists and economists have increasingly come to recognize that pastoral nomadism is a form of life that is perfectly suited to many hilly and dry regions of the world. With this, chapter is completed. From tomorrow's session, let's discuss